Recently, Capcom held a showcase for all of their released and upcoming games, with Onimusha Wave the Sword receiving a new overview trailer during the event. Now, unlike some of the previous trailers, this one is primarily compiled the footage seen from all of the previous trailers, so I won't be doing a full trailer breakdown for this one. That said, I did want to take the time to focus on these small bits of new footage that we haven't seen before, and I also wanted to take the time to talk about some of the recent weekly memos that Capcom has posted on the official Onimusha X account, along with the 25th anniversary. So without any further delays, let's get right into it. The very first piece of new footage that we get to see in the overview trailer is Musashi running around the roads of Kyoto before the camera pans up to what I assume is the Hokkanji Temple Pagoda. It's unclear if we'll be able to explore this part of Kyoto, but it does give us a nice idea to some of the locations that we can see throughout the game. This part of the trailer goes by pretty fast with really nothing more significant happening. However, we do get a little more context as to how Musashi dies and receives his gauntlet. We see that Musashi attempts to fight that group of Hitotsu Megasa we've seen in some of the other trailers. This time we can see that Musashi is having his throat slit open, and then he's immediately decapitated before he goes to what I assume is hell, which is something that we've seen in the fourth trailer. The trailer skips over that sequence by showing us the gauntlet on Musashi's arm, and he starts to fight the Genma once more, this time with far more ease, and when it's all over, he just looks at his gauntlet. This trailer also does play more of that song played in the fourth trailer, and I'm still getting the impression that it might be Samanosuke's theme if he's in the game, but it's also a very likely possibility that this is actually Musashi's theme.
Feel the ring of steel on steel, intense duels. Reduce enemies to pieces with a devastating Isen. Parry and deflect attacks with well-timed blocks to turn the tide of battle in your favor. And, of course, absorb souls with the Oni Gauntlet to recover health or ready powerful abilities. Moving from one bloody and desperate battle to the next, Musashi searches for his reason to fight. What answers will he find at the end of his blade?
Anyway, that's all we have for this trailer. There's still no release date, no at-home demo, and not much new footage to go off of. We did get, however, a few new screenshots and some information around them via the weekly memos that Capcom posts on X. Starting from weekly memo number 35, we released Capcom Spotlight recently, delivering the latest information on Capcom titles. Regarding Onimusha Wave the Sword, we have decided to withhold the release of new information for now. Instead, for those eagerly awaiting this title, we have shared an introduction video summarizing all information revealed to date and positioning it with our 2026 lineup. In fact, this trailer also includes locations and shots that have not been shown before, so I'd love for all of you to take a look. Before we knew it, almost half a year has passed since we last shared news at the Tokyo Game Show. However, we've already selected the next venue for unveiling new information and are preparing for that announcement. We kindly ask for you to look forward to what we will reveal. The photograph depicts Izumo no Okuni relaxing at Rokudo Chinoji Temple. The voice was provided by Chiharu, resulting in an absolutely splendid finish. Producer Kadawaki. We can only speculate what that next venue might be and hope that it would be sooner rather than later. Hopefully our patience will be rewarded with a release date. Fingers crossed. Anyway, we get our new screenshot of Okuni sitting down and thinking about something. It's unclear which part of the temple she's at currently, but we can assume that wherever she is, it's safe from the Genma for the time being. Also, we have a look at the Capcom Spotlight artwork, which features a variety of characters like Musashi, Grace Ashcroft, and many more. Anyway, let's move on to memo number 36, which I think some of you might find interesting. Thank you all so much for all of the positive comments you've shared for last week's Capcom Spotlight. We're glad so many of you say that you can't wait to know when the game will be released. The whole team is now working on the final stages of development. Please look forward to our next announcement. This time we'd like to introduce our underground laboratory, this research facility built by the formidable foe Dokyo, beneath the heart of Kyoto, designed to create new Genma. We've designed this stage with the feel of a traditional Japanese haunted house in mind. The shadows cast on the shoji screens look rather eerie, don't they? You'll have to play the game to find out exactly what kind of stage it is. Please also take a look at the stage introduction on the official website. Director Nihei. I actually really appreciate this screenshot and some of the lengths that the developers have gone to when making this part of the game based off of what we've seen in both the trailers and screenshots. In my opinion, I feel as though they're doing something that Resident Evil 7 failed to do, and that's actually go back to the roots of this franchise by blending in the horror elements into the game throughout the environments. This new screenshot, for example, gives me an Onimusha Warlords vibe, which is something that I think we've lost by the time we got to the third game due to the more heavy emphasis on the action elements, which, to be fair, wasn't a bad call on Capcom's end for this franchise. We'll talk a little bit more about Onimusha Warlords in a moment, but before we do, this next screenshot isn't from a memo, but actually just a post celebrating the release of Monster Hunter Stories 3. We've seen the boss fight with Nue already, and even how it can toss Musashi around, so this screenshot is likely taken from a possible photo mode, just showing that boss fight off a little more. Memo 37 is a screenshot that shows off a mechanic we've seen throughout the trailers and information that isn't new, so I won't go over the information on this one, but if you are interested, I've left a link to all of the memos featured in today's video down in the description below. Hi there, so I actually didn't expect them to post another memo for Onimusha, so I will actually just be reading off this one other memo that's on Greater Nue or Nue. This one hasn't been translated yet, so I am going to be reading off of Google Translate rather than X's or Twitter's Translate, because I see that it's slightly inaccurate on that one. That being said, we're just going to go off of that, and then I'm going to show you the screenshots related to this one, and then we'll get back to the original video. This time, we'll be talking about the formidable enemy Onue. Nue is a yokai from Kyoto folklore. It's known for its appearance, a mixture of multiple animals: the head of a monkey, the body of a tanuki, the tail of a snake, and the limbs of a tiger. It's said that its cry resembled that of a thrush. You might hear that sound during battle, and it said that Nue appeared in a certain place in Kyoto. We hope that you let your imagination run wild and look forward to the time when you actually encounter it in the game. Director Nihei. The last memo, number 38, was just recently posted along with a screenshot of a new enemy type that's been revealed. Here's what the memo has to say. We would like to introduce a Genma that appeared in the playable demo at several video game events, the Onimusha. As for why it has such a menacing name, well, the truth is that this Genma eats demons in hell. The countless threads extending from its body are, in fact, the transformed hairs of the demons it once devoured. It's quite eerie, isn't it? It is a classic ambush predator, usually keeping itself hidden while weaving a web to trap and devour its prey. However, Musashi possesses a special ability known as Oni Vision. By using this, he can see the form of the Onimusha, which is normally invisible. If you find yourself thinking, hang on, I should be able to get through, but something's blocking the way, the Oni Gauntlet may react. If you use Oni Vision at that moment, you might discover an Onimusha just lurking nearby, trying its best to avoid being detected. Director Nihei. The Onimusha is an enemy I did not see in the build of the game that I got to play at Gamescom, and truth be told, I'm not sure if it was even in that build to begin with. So, assuming it wasn't, I wonder which events it first showed up in. Another thing I'm curious about is if the Oni bow will do some extra damage if you manage to shoot it in its eye. That said, there's one more screenshot I'd like to bring up, although this one isn't related to Way of the Sword, but instead Onimusha Warlords. It's some key art to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Onimusha Warlords. A part of me really wishes they could do a little bit more for the anniversary, like showing off some high quality footage of the prototype PS1 build of the game, similar to what they did with RE0 back when they were promoting the remaster of that game. Or better yet, announce another HD remaster for the series, if not just updating the remaster for Onimusha Warlords with the missing content from the Genma version. Still, I am glad that they're even acknowledging the anniversary, and I do hope to see Onimusha as a franchise thriving for 25 more years and beyond. Speaking of remasters, we have Onimusha 3 HD remastered at home. Sort of. Recently, the original PC port of Onimusha 3 has been made to work with modern OSs and is available to download with some additions like widescreen support, support for X-input controllers, 1080p, and some HD textures. I just want to emphasize that last part because this game still has a lot of the same problems, especially around the lighting, which was the biggest problem of this port. But that in mind, it is nice to see that fans are getting ahead of Capcom by giving us a way to play Onimusha 3. And while I'm eagerly hoping and waiting for the the inevitable Onimusha 3 HD remaster from Capcom, I also wouldn't mind seeing the possibility of the fans fixing this version of the game before that happens, since we have no idea when it could happen. Unless if Capcom partners up with GOG and lets them release, or rather re-release, Onimusha 3's PC port with a handful of fixes and improvements to that port of the game before the fans do, but somehow I doubt it, especially since Capcom probably intends on making an HD port of the game to begin with. Maybe we'd see Chaos Legion's port instead, since that, ironically enough, also has a bad PC port that also needs fixing. Anyway, I can't show you where and how to download this port of the game for obvious legal reasons, but I do have links for you to check out down in the description below. And I will say that it is a fairly simple process to go through. It's a really good time to be a fan of Onimusha, or even just get into the games, especially with stuff like this happening. But with that all said, I'd like to know what you all think down in the comment section below. If you liked today's video, feel free to give it a like and consider subscribing. Until then, I will see you all in the next one. Matane!